What's up, guys? So today we're going to be comparing the Galaxy S24 Plus to the S23 Ultra here. This is a pretty good comparison. I got this question a few times. So which phone should you get? So they're both around the same price in the used refurbished marketplace, and they both kind of have these trade-offs here. So you can find an S23 Ultra in, refurbished $659, and then the S24 Plus you can also find for around that price point, a little bit cheaper at $634. Let's go ahead and talk about the build quality here and the overall difference. So the S23 is going to be a bigger phone for sure, as you guys can see, and it's going to be a more boxier phone. So in my opinion, it's just not as comfortable to hold because of these sharper edges. The S24 Plus is just a lot more comfortable to hold here. They both have that premium material on here, so glass and metal. They're both IP68 dust and water resistant, and they both pretty much have the same design here, apart from the epoxy design. Besides that, everything else is pretty similar. Now, when you come to the bottom of the S23 Ultra here, you do have the S Pen support here. So this is what I always say. If you might not really need the S Pen if you're not into like digital artwork, or if you don't see yourself kind of using it to navigate, then you probably won't need it. There are some other benefits that you can use the pen with, as far as taking pictures, video from a distance. If you are a content creator, then if you film with your S23, it makes stuff a lot easier as well. But besides that, you might not need the S Pen and the little baked in features that they have in here. So taking a look at the displays here, on the S23 Ultra you have a 6.8-inch display. It's dynamic AMOLED, 120 Hz, HDR10 Plus. It gets up to 1750 nits peak brightness. It is 1440p 500 for the PPI. The S24 Plus is a 6.7-inch dynamic AMOLED display as well, 120 Hz HDR10 Plus. The difference here is that you have a much higher max brightness at 2600 nits on the S24 Plus. So if you're in direct sunlight at the beach, it's just really sunny outside, the S24 Plus will look a lot brighter. It is 1440p and 513 for the PPI. One of the differences that stand out here is that the S24 Plus is a flat display versus the slightly curved display on the S23 Ultra. Besides that, both displays look really good. What's kind of funny here is that the S24 Plus does have slimmer bezels at the bottom here as well. So it's a really nice looking display. So both displays look really good. I do like the boxy shape of the display on the S23 Ultra. Besides that, they both pretty much look the same color wise, and again, same resolution and everything. So overall, those are the main differences with the display here. Alright, so let's talk about the overall CPU and software experience here. So you will get 7 years of MajorOS updates on the S24 Plus, which is a big advantage that a lot of people will like. You do have the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 on here, and then you also have 256 gigs of internal storage and 12 gigs of RAM on here. With the S23, we do have the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2. We also do have 4 years of MajorOS updates as well. And then we also have 256 gigs of internal storage and 8 gigs of RAM on this base model here. So you can see the score difference here. I would say as far as speed, there is really not that big of a difference here. If we go into our 3D Mark here, look at Steel Nomad, here are the scores in the FPS here. It's really not going to be too much of a difference. The 8 Gen 2 and 8 Gen 3 aren't really that much different from each other here. One thing I did notice is that it did start off cooler on the S24 Plus with this test, and then obviously you do have higher FPS as well too. So yeah, so as far as speed in the real world, I wouldn't necessarily say that these, one phone is faster than the other for sure here. They both pretty much feel on par with each other. So I think the S24 Plus, it'll be like a little bit like a hair faster for getting into, applications, games, and stuff like that. Boom, let's try Subway Surf. Yeah, so as you guys can see, not too much of a difference here going on with overall speed, and animations pretty much feel extremely similar here. All right, so as far as the gaming experience goes, for me as a casual gamer, I didn't really notice a difference, and I think if you are somebody who plays a lot of games, I think the Agent 2 is still extremely good. Obviously, you're going to get slightly better performance on the S24 Plus as far as, you know, running Geekbench scores and the 3D Mark and stuff like that. But in actual games, I've never had a overheating problem with the S23. Never had any problems with the S24 Plus. They both run at the same settings as well too. You can play PUBG at, you know, smooth 120 frames on both of these as well. So again, no issues in terms of gaming, no heating problems at all. So if you are a mobile gamer, I think you'll be, you know, perfectly fine with the S23 if you wanted to get this. There's not a big difference here. Again, as far as the software experience goes, both of these phones have the Galaxy AI features. Again, the S24 Plus will get the 7 years of major OS updates as well, but you do have your Galaxy AI features here on the S23 Ultra, which is really nice. And overall, software-wise, everything is going to be pretty much identical, at least for right now. Let's go ahead and talk about the fingerprint scanner. That is the same as well too. It is an ultrasonic. There is zero difference between these fingerprint scanners as well. You can use Face Unlock too. Again, as far as the software experience goes, both of these phones have the Galaxy AI features. Again, the S24 Plus will get the 7 years of major OS updates as well, but you do have your Galaxy AI features here on the S23 Ultra, which is really nice. And overall, software-wise, everything is going to be pretty much identical, at least for right now. Let's go ahead and talk about the fingerprint scanner. That is the same as well too. It is an ultrasonic. There is zero difference between these fingerprint scanners as well. You can use Face Unlock too. Let's see which speaker has the better quality here. We'll start with the S23. I want to say that the S24 sounds slightly a little bit louder, but the hi-hats just sound really a little bit louder. They're just slight, or they sound a little bit more crisp. Maybe that's not, maybe it's really not that louder. I mean, I guess the S24 does sound just a slightly louder, but I don't think it's dramatically different here. So I would say the speakers are roughly the same, but if I were to give it to somebody, I'd give it to the S24 Plus pretty much. Alright, so one of the biggest deciding factors here is actually the camera. So the image quality is one thing which we're gonna, I'll show you guys the side-by-side stills and video, but then also you have to take into consideration the zoom photography as well too. So the S23 Ultra has a 200 megapixel standard, a 10 megapixel telephoto 3x optical, with a 10 megapixel periscope telephoto 10 times optical, with a 12 megapixel ultra wide. It also shoots in 8K 24 and 30 with a 12 megapixel selfie that shoots in 4K 60. Now the S24 Plus has a 50 megapixel standard, 10 megapixel periscope, or not periscope, but telephoto lens with 3x optical, and then a 12 megapixel ultra wide. This can shoot in 8K 24 and 30, and then you also do have a 12 megapixel selfie camera that shoots in 4K 60 here. The max zoom on the S24 Plus is 30, and then your max zoom is of course 100 on the S23 Ultra here. And overall, your zoom shots are going to be better at like 10 times, 30 times, and stuff like that. All right, so the awesome thing about these two phones is that the battery life is actually pretty much good on both of these phones. Really good standby time on both. They kind of have the same battery size. So you have a 4,900 milliamp hour battery on the S24 Plus, and then you have a 5,000 on the S23. They both charge at the same speeds at 45 watts. Wireless and reverse wireless charging is on board, and they pretty much feel the same. Like I think they both perform really good in terms of screen on time. You can definitely get a full day out of both of these phones here. So I think this comparison really comes down to, do you need the S Pen and do you need the zoom photography? You also, I like the more boxier display, even though I don't like the sharp edges. And then also, I do like having the zoom photography personally, but it just comes down to what you really want. This, you get these 7 years of updates, which is really convincing to a lot of people. You get the completely flat display, really good cameras still on the S24 Plus. Overall, there's a lot to like. You get the newer processor as well too. So what do you guys think? Be sure to let me know, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.